Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Today, we are on a different kind of theme. That is, uh, first time we are floating a concept of a center of excellence and guidance um, at a certain place. In our mind, it is in Lucknow, a central place in northern India. So there are mainly speaker is Shamshad Ahmad Saab, who runs a very good coaching center in Lucknow. And he will be supported by Dr. Nazeer Ahmad and Dr. Abdul Jabbar Saab, um, briefing some objectives of our project or conclude some of those. And I'll be just introducing the theme. So let's start why we are putting this theme before the audience. So the first slide, my first slide, is a plain and simple, some statements are there. I'm focusing on North India. The objective is really to see the state of North Indian Muslims overall condition, social, educational, and otherwise. So as you can see, the population of Muslims in India is 200 million, and majority of this, roughly 70%, lives in the North, East, and Central India. Their social condition is not more than 25% are middle class or upper middle class, but majority of them, 75%, are lower middle class or poor class. So obviously their economic condition also is reflective of their population. Their education is not more than, what you call literary index, not more than 55%, versus if you see the non-Muslims, they are 65% or above. So in this scenario, obviously we want to see what are the causes and whether any upliftment type initiative can be taken to improve this situation. So the concept of educational uplift comes at this stage. And these concepts, like there are multiple concepts in that, how to uplift them. One is financial help and guidance at the school level, that is primary to high school level. There are existing schemes within India, as well as some NGOs outside India, like diaspora associations do. There are coaching centers where free and subsidized coaching can be helpful. There are certain existing schemes. And the third level is Center of Excellence, where free coaching and guidance for postgraduate, post-high school graduates can be put together so that it can enhance their conditions, and they can be more competitive, they can excel. And so under these situations, we find that for the entire 125 million Muslims living in the northern belt, there are many commercial coaching centers in operation in almost all districts. But this majority of Muslims or majority of poor marginalized people cannot have this facility available to them because they lack resources. And because of the lack of these resources, basically they just go for whatever is available and become eventually a primary school teacher or a clerk or a peon or jobless. And the upper class, that 25%, that remains competitive perhaps not, if not on equal footing, but still, so you can see the reflection there. The national average of Muslims competing in professions are 3 to 4%, which is basically out of their 15% population, they're 25%. So basically that is reflective to their compatibility. But the rest is in a very poor shape. And unlike in the South India, where Muslims have taken these initiatives quite successfully, and Nazeer Saab, one of the speaker, Dr. Nazeer Ahmad, is one such person who has taken many initiatives very successfully in Karnataka and other places in Tamil Nadu, Kerala. They have done marvelous job. But as I look at somebody is talking, that is not possible if it is muted. So North India, unfortunately, we are more mired in political, social identity and other kind of crisis. And our priority seems to be far less comparing to our brethren in the Southern Belt in education. So when I did some research, it was so surprising to find out that in between Delhi to Assam, there is not a single free guidance or coaching quality center, except you can say Rahmani 30 in Bihar. There is not whatsoever. There are some big institutions where there are educational, coaching centers, but to that education center, these poor people cannot go. So that is a scenario. In this scenario, first I'll show the next slide. In this scenario, what we are then thinking is to, the onus, and already I said the onus and responsibility basically is to either on the government establishment, and government is really not doing as much to the minorities as we would wish to see. So the onus and responsibility basically falls upon us, the educated, resourceful class. So whether we are doing our part or not, that we have to find out, and what we are doing and how much we are doing. As I said, that if we were doing anything, there would have been certain coaching centers or guidance centers or helping centers in this stretch of the land. And there are not. That means obviously we are not doing on any significant level. So what has been Muslims' response in initiating and launching any scheme of uplift, any stipends, scheme of scholarships, coaching institutions, etc. There are commercials, for-profit institutions, but not what we are thinking about, providing free or subsidized education or centers for coaching. So the need of the hour is to launch a model center of excellence, which is, I call a coaching guidance information center, to help change this scenario of 3 to 4% on higher level, and for all major professional competitive tests, which means IITs, engineering, medical, finance management, and civil services. So for this kind of DEEM project, obviously you need a very dedicated team here or wherever possible, and as well as some partners on the ground. So fortunately, after much discussions and finding who could be the partners, we have found one willing partner, Mr. Shamshad Ahmad, who is running a very successful such center in the heart of Lucknow. And Lucknow chosen in the sense that Lucknow is basically in the center of the North India and a prime, big cosmopolitan place with a large Muslim population. So Shamshad Ahmad Saab is such potential candidate who can be our potential partner. And he runs multiple other centers in Gorakhpur, Allahabad, and other places. But this one is his primary center. So he will be coming here now just to introduce his center. But before that, this is all I wanted to say. I would like you to listen to our senior community member here in the US, Dr. Nazeer Ahmad Sahab, who is a very well-known figure in the community, and he is very much involved in education, political activism, social activism, comes from Karnataka, and he has established many foundations there, similar kind of concepts he has floated. And he is a very successful businessman and entrepreneur here in California. And my buzurg and friend, Dr. Nazeer Ahmad, please. अपने को अनम्यूट कर लीजिए.
Thank you, Dr. Razi Sahab. I will use a personal story as my point of departure. It was the year 1947. We were graduating from 3rd grade in the government Urdu middle school located in an impoverished neighborhood in Tumkur, approximately 40 miles from the city of Bangalore. World War II had just ended. The talk of partition was very much in the air. Our school had no funds, but we had the most loving teachers. To encourage the children, our headmaster decided to give a prize to the top student in each class. There were 37 students in our 3rd grade. I had a friend, Amir, who competed with me for the top position in the class. He was better than I was in geography and Urdu, but not quite as good in math and history. So the headmaster decided to split the top prize in 2. However, before the award date, fate intervened. Amir's father was so destitute that he pulled his son out of school and put him to work. Years later, when I was a student at the university in Bangalore, I was walking the main street in my hometown when a street vendor with tattered clothes, his face blackened with years of exposure to the South Indian hot sun, his skeletal frame slightly bent over from pulling a kerosene oil tank, offered his salam. That was my childhood friend, Amir. The story of Amir is the story of India. To this day, I ask myself, had Amir continued through college, would he be the first-ranked student in the state as I was in the public examinations of 1952, 55, 57, and 59? Would he have won the competitive All India JRD Tata Fellowship for the year 1961, as I did? Would he be the one, not I, who would win the Institute Fellowship at Caltech, as I did? Would he be the one, not I, who would be making the presentation here before us today? Fast forward to the year 2022. We live in an age when information travels at the speed of light. Mankind has conquered space, touched the moon, and probes the origin of distant galaxies that are located barely 100 million miles from the Big Bang. Robots roam the earth, while airplanes are piloted by computer chips. Artificial intelligence, metaverse, and blockchain technology drive the future. It is an age when human progress is limited only by the speed of light and our capacity to absorb change. Education is the key to the creation of a knowledge-based society, which alone can lift a country out of perpetual poverty. When I served on the Karnataka State Knowledge Commission between 2013 and 2019, which is a distinguished body consisting of the vice chancellors of the state and some prominent industry leaders in Bangalore, we deliberated a great deal on how to transform the education system in the state. Unfortunately, the same forces that are responsible for public education benefit from the current system of private education and are therefore opposed to any meaningful reformation of the public education system. Within the great mass of poverty that is India, the minorities are even worse off. According to a recent AISHE survey report, the percentage of Muslim students in the IITs, IIMs, and other elite schools is only 1.9% against a national population of 14.2%. The Dalits and the OBCs fare no better. The percentage of Muslim students in all graduate schools is 5.4%, and a great majority of them are in the BA, BCom, and diploma courses, which are geared to the lower echelons of employment, that is, if they can find a job. The way to beat a system is to know how it works. Admission to the elite schools is based on competitive exams. Training for these exams can augment one's score by as much as 30%. The example of South India has shown that with proper training and coaching, Muslim, Dalit, and OBC students can compete with the best from the more privileged classes of society. The case of Shaheen Group of institutions in Karnataka is an example. Each year, Shaheen trains, coaches, and sends scores of students to elite medical and engineering schools. It is unfortunate that similar facilities are scarce in the sprawling North Indian Hindi-speaking belt. This is where the observations of Dr. Nazeer Ahmad should light up our consciousness. The region from Delhi to Calcutta is home to some 80 million Muslims and tens of millions of Dalits and other minorities. This vast region should have been home to dozens of centers of excellence in science, medicine, and administrative disciplines. Unfortunately, there are only one or two. There are millions of youngsters, like my childhood friend Amir, who have the God-given ability to compete with the best in the world, but end up in abysmal poverty because of lack of opportunity. Dr. Raziuddin has offered a vision to establish a center of excellence in Lucknow, the heart of the vast and now backward state of Uttar Pradesh. We want Uttar Pradesh to be known as a center of learning and culture like it once was. Let each one of us in this forum and those we can reach save at least one child from the clutches of poverty. As the Chinese saying goes, you give a man a fish, you give him a meal. You teach him how to fish, you give him a lifeline. Let each one of us throw a lifeline to a child by training him, coaching him, and launching him into the technological world of tomorrow. No step is too small. No effort is insignificant. Khatra khatra bahem shudat darya. Drop upon drop makes an ocean. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. As Maulana Rumi said, start a big project like Noah. It makes absolutely no difference what people say. Noah's Ark was the life raft for his people. The life raft for our generation is excellence in education. Your good deed today can lift a young soul from the shackles of abysmal poverty and bring hope and light into his life. As the Quran declares, Allah, hears the movement of an ant on a solid rock in the dead silence of night. Thank you.
Very inspiring and wonderful, wonderfully presented. I hope it sinks into our hearts and minds and people rise for the occasion. Now, rather than introducing verbally about the speaker or the main speaker today, Mr. Shamshad Ahmad, let us see a documentary that he has sent about him and what he is doing in Lucknow. First, I'll run the documentary.
भंवर से लड़ो तुंद लहरों से उलझो, भंवर से लड़ो।
आवाज आ रही? Audio is available with a video?
Yes.
भंवर से लड़ो तुंद लहरों से उलझो, भंवर से लड़ो तुंद लहरों से उलझो, कहां तक चलोगे किनारे किनारे। आजादी के बाद मुल्क में सभी कौमों ने तरक्की के लिए शिक्षा का रास्ता अपनाया। मुसलमानों के सामने भी यही रास्ता था कि वह शिक्षा के लिए अपने आप को सबसे आगे रखे। ऐसे में मुस्लिम रहनुमाओं और तंजीमों ने बड़ी कोशिश की, पर हुकूमत की पॉलिसी और मुसलमानों में जागरूकता की कमी ने एक बड़े हिस्से को नौकरी और प्रोफेशनल डिग्री में भी पिछड़ गए। कौम में फैली लाचारगी, अशिक्षा, बेरोजगारी ने निराशा का माहौल बना दिया। ऐसे में कई तंजीमों और नौजवान क़यादत ने कौम को निराशा से दूर करने का बेड़ा उठाया। इस बीच बदलाव और जागरूकता की लहर हर तरफ चल पड़ी। ऐसी ही एक लहर गोरखपुर की सरजमी पर जन्म लेने वाले एस अहमद यानी शमशाद अहमद से टकराई। कुछ कर गुजरने की चाहत लेकर 1996 में गोरखपुर से लखनऊ आने का फैसला किया। नेक इरादे, दिल में जुनून और कुछ कर गुजरने की ख्वाहिश लेकर एस अहमद लखनऊ आए। दरअसल शुरुआती शिक्षा और डिग्री के लिए तो कई कॉलेज और संस्थान बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे थे, लेकिन प्रोफेशनल कोर्स जैसे मेडिकल और इंजीनियर की फील्ड में जाने वाले बच्चों के लिए कोई बेहतर रास्ता नहीं था। इस मुश्किल काम को एस अहमद ने अपने लिए चैलेंज के तौर पर लिया। उन्होंने तय किया कि ऐसे बच्चे जो सलाहियत रखते हैं और उसमें मेहनत करने का जज्बा है, लेकिन गरीबी या किसी दूसरी वजह से मेडिकल और इंजीनियरिंग की तैयारी नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, वो ऐसे बच्चों को मेडिकल और इंजीनियरिंग की तैयारी कराने के लिए हर मुमकिन मदद का फैसला किया।
प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज में मेडिकल और इंजीनियरिंग एक ऐसा कोर्स है जिसमें आपकी मेहनत का पूरा रिटर्न मिल सकता है, क्योंकि इसमें किसी तरह का कोई इंटरव्यू नहीं है। और इंटरव्यू एक ऐसी चीज़ है जिसमें सबसे ज़्यादा भयभीत होते हैं गांव देहात के बच्चे, जिनकी बॉडी लैंग्वेज सही नहीं होती है, इंग्लिश में उनको प्रॉब्लम होती है। तो ये सिर्फ अपनी ताकत का कोर्स है, यानी अपनी मेहनत का पूरा रिटर्न लेने का ये प्रोफेशनल कोर्स है मेडिकल और इंजीनियरिंग, कि इसमें आप जिस दिन एग्ज़ाम देते हैं उसी दिन आपको अपना रिजल्ट पता चल जाता है कि हमारा ये पॉजिटिव हो गया या निगेटिव।
एक बड़ी मुश्किल ये थी कि बड़ी संख्या में जरूरतमंद और गरीब छात्र अलग अलग जिलों से मेडिकल और इंजीनियरिंग के कंपटीशन की तैयारी करने आने लगे। इन छात्रों की एस अहमद अकेले या अपने साथियों, करीबियों या आसपास के लोगों से सीमित ही मदद करा सकते थे। ऐसे में बहुत से मेधावी छात्र कंपटीशन से वंचित रह जाते थे। इस समस्या के हल के लिए एस अहमद ने देश में पहली बार मेडिकल और इंजीनियरिंग के कंपटीशन की तैयारी कर रहे छात्रों के लिए साल 2002 में टेस्ट सीरीज की शुरुआत की।
इकोनॉमिकली जो पुअर स्टूडेंट हैं उनके लिए सिर्फ एकमात्र सहारा है सेल्फ स्टडी का, और सेल्फ स्टडी से अच्छी कोई स्टडी नहीं हो सकती है। इसके लिए पीएमटी कॉलेज ने एक प्रोग्राम तैयार किया, टेस्ट सीरीज। इस टेस्ट सीरीज में उनके मेडिकल और इंजीनियरिंग के पूरे सिलेबस को 40 टेस्टों में डिवाइड कर दिया गया। बच्चों को बता दिया गया कि किस संडे किस चीज़ का टेस्ट है, उनके पूरे 40 संडे का प्रोग्राम दे दिया गया। बच्चे घर पे पढ़ाई करते हैं, उसके बाद से संडे को वो आके अपने डाउट्स क्लियर करते हैं। तो उनकी देखिए, मोर स्टडी मोर कन्फ्यूज़न, नो स्टडी नो कन्फ्यूज़न। तो जब बच्चे पढ़ेंगे उनको कंफ्यूज होंगे, डाउट्स उनका होगा, वो डाउट्स उनके क्लियर कर लिए जाए, स्टडी कंप्लीट है।
टेस्ट सीरीज ने सफलता के कई कीर्तिमान स्थापित किए। इस बीच गरीब और जरूरतमंद छात्रों की एक बड़ी खेप आने लगी। इसके लिए एस अहमद के पास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और खर्चे कम पड़ने लगे। एस अहमद ने कई लोगों के साथ राज्य और केंद्र सरकार से ऐसी योजना शुरू करने की अपील की जो इन छात्रों की बड़े पैमाने पर मदद कर सके।
मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी की ये जो मुफ्त स्कीम है, इस चीज़ को स्टार्ट कराने के लिए तमाम तंजीमों को बहुत संघर्ष करना पड़ा। इसके लिए तमाम लोगों ने कोशिश की, तमाम तंजीमों ने कोशिश की, और उसी का नतीजा है ये कि आज जो ये मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी की जो फ्री कोचिंग स्कीम है, इससे फैज़याब हो रहे हैं बहुत से बच्चे। और माइनॉरिटी के अब तक हिंदुस्तान लेवल पे बात की जाए तो हर एक साल 10,000 बच्चों को जो है मुफ्त तालीम का जो है एलोकेशन होता है मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी की तरफ से, और जिसमें हिंदुस्तान की सेकंड लार्जेस्ट बच्चे जो है पीएमटी फिजिक्स कॉलेज को जो एलोकेट किए जाते हैं।
केंद्रीय अल्पसंख्यक कल्याण मंत्रालय द्वारा शुरू की गई निःशुल्क कोचिंग का एक बड़ा सेंटर राजधानी लखनऊ में एस अहमद पीएमटी कॉलेज है। केंद्र सरकार की मदद से अब तक इस सेंटर से लगभग 10,000 छात्र छात्राओं को मुफ्त कोचिंग के साथ वजीफा भी मिला है।
मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी अफेयर्स, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने एक स्कीम निकाली है। इसमें किसी भी तरह की प्रोफेशनल और जॉब ओरिएंटेड कोचिंग के लिए, जैसे आईएएस, पीसीएस, पीएमटी, आईटी, क्लैट और रेलवे, बैंकिंग, इन सब के लिए भी बच्चों को जो है, माइनॉरिटी के बच्चों को मुफ्त तालीम और स्टाइपेंड का प्रोविज़न है। इस स्कीम से पीएमटी फिजिक्स कॉलेज में जो है पूरे हिंदुस्तान से अब तक कम से कम यहाँ से 10,000 बच्चों को जो है मुफ्त में तालीम दी गई है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की मदद से, और उसके 10,000 बच्चों को मुफ्त तालीम के साथ स्टाइपेंड भी दिया गया है, यानी उनके रहने खाने के खर्च में भी मदद की गई है।
एस अहमद ने राजधानी लखनऊ के सबसे पाश इलाके हजरतगंज में पीएमटी कॉलेज की स्थापना की। इसका कैंपस तकरीबन 11,000 स्क्वायर फुट एरिया में फैला हुआ है। इसमें डिजिटल क्लासरूम, लड़के लड़कियों के लिए अलग लाइब्रेरी, कैंपस में ही हॉस्टल जैसी सुविधा उपलब्ध है। साथ ही 24 घंटे सीसीटीवी की निगरानी और सिक्योरिटी गार्ड भी रखे गए हैं।
अभी जो हम नया कैंपस बना रहे हैं पीएमटी कॉलेज का, उसमें तो 24 आवर्स फैकल्टी का जो है बैकअप होगा। जितनी भी आधुनिक सुविधाएं हैं, सारी सुविधाएं उसमें दी जाएंगी। जो मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी है उससे पूरी तरह से वो हमारा इंस्टीट्यूशन सुपर 30 गर्ल्स, बॉयज़, लाइब्रेरी, कैंटीन, ये सारी चीज़ें वहाँ रहेंगी। तो उस कैंपस के खुल जाने के बाद से हमारी ये कोशिश रहेगी जो बच्चे वहाँ पे रेजिडेंशियल हैं वो 100% बच्चों को कामयाबी मिले।
आज़ादी से लेकर साल 2000 तक मेडिकल और इंजीनियरिंग की फील्ड में अगर संख्या के हिसाब से देखा जाए तो मुस्लिमों का प्रतिशत सिलेक्शन में बहुत कम होता था, पर यही संख्या अगर साल 2000 से 2022 तक देखें तो कंपटीशन बीट करने वाले मुस्लिम छात्रों की संख्या काफी बढ़ी है। दरअसल समाज में आई जागरूकता, कोचिंग संस्थान में निःशुल्क दाखिला, रहने खाने के लिए मिलने वाला खर्च इसकी एक बड़ी वजह बनी।
इस फ्री कोचिंग की अवेयरनेस इतनी ज़्यादा बढ़ गई है कि अगर आप इसको कंपेयर करें आज़ादी से लेके 2000 तक जितने बच्चे माइनॉरिटी के मुस्लिम इंजीनियरिंग और मेडिकल में हुए होंगे, जितने 40 साल में हुए होंगे उससे 2 गुना ज़्यादा से बच्चे जो है ये आपके 2000 से लेके 2022 तक हुए होंगे।
इसके साथ ही जागरूकता फैलाने, अभिभावकों और छात्रों को हौसला देने के साथ खुद अभिभावक की भूमिका निभाने के लिए एस अहमद का योगदान भी काफी सराहनीय है।
स्टार्टिंग में मुझे 3 बच्चे मिले कोच करने के लिए, लेकिन मायूस नहीं हुआ। उस 3 बच्चों से जो कारवां शुरू हुआ तो आज हमारे वहाँ 10,000 बच्चे डिफरेंट फील्ड में जो है मैंने कोच किए हैं, और वो हिंदुस्तान के तमाम मेडिकल कॉलेजों में इस वक्त एजुकेशन ले रहे हैं। तमाम इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज में जो है वो इंडिया ही नहीं बल्कि बाहर के इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज में भी एडमिशन लेके पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं।
पिछले लगभग 2.5 दशक से ये सिलसिला लगातार चल रहा है। दूर दराज के कस्बों, शहरों में रहने वाले हजारों परिवार एक उम्मीद के साथ इस अहमद के पास आते हैं। इनमें से कई लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो मजदूरी करके अपने परिवार का पालन पोषण करते हैं। इनके बच्चों में मेहनत करने का जज्बा, लगन और कुछ कर गुजरने की चाहत होती है। ऐसा अहमद इन बच्चों की न सिर्फ मदद करते हैं बल्कि उनके अभिभावक की तरह हमेशा उनके दुख और सुख में शामिल रहते हैं। यह सिलसिला मुसलसल जारी है। ऐसा अहमद उम्मीद करते हैं कि आगे इसे और बेहतर काम होगा। साथ ही न सिर्फ मेडिकल इंजीनियरिंग बल्कि अन्य दूसरे कंपटीशन में भी ऐसे गरीब और जरूरतमंद छात्र हमारी आपकी मदद पाकर परचम लहराएंगे। ऐसे बच्चे और उनके परिवार की खुशी ही इस अहमद की असली कमाई है।
मैं यहाँ से गैंगटोक गया हुआ था। वहाँ मणिपाल मेडिकल कॉलेज में मैं जैसे ही गया, एक बच्चे ने मुझे रिकग्नाइज़ किया और आके मेरा पैर छुआ और बताया सर मैं आपसे पढ़ा हूँ। और उस बच्चे के पीछे ना जाने कितनी फौज लग गई और हमारी बच्ची का ऐसा इलाज हुआ कि जैसे लगा कि मैं कितना वीवीआईपी हूँ। इन सब बातों को सोच कर ही ये एनर्जी मिलती है आगे काम करने की।
कैसे कह दूं कि थक गया हूँ मैं, कैसे कह दूं कि थक गया हूँ मैं, न जाने किस किस का हौसला हूँ मैं।
Shamshad Ahmad sahab, can you now join to do further, like आपको और भी slides कुछ दिखानी थी? A wonderful documentary about your place and आपके बारे में, but you wanted to show some more slides?
कोई गुंजाइश है नहीं।
म्यूट करें अपने आप को शमशाद साहब।
मतलब ऐसे क्यों बात हो गई भाई, गुंजाइश नहीं?
नहीं मतलब सब कुछ तो क्लियर हो गया ये मेरा।
I mean, he has some slides.
Of course he will show. I'm saying it's all clear now.
शमशाद साहब, can you unmute yourself please? जी
शमशाद साहब, yes.
जी
आपको कुछ और डॉक्यूमेंट्स दिखाने थे?
नहीं मुझे और नहीं दिखाने,
बस हो गया, जो आपने स्लाइड्स भेजी थी उसकी अब फर्दर जरूरत नहीं।
जी।
All right. So it was a wonderful documentary. We now see your, accomplishment, your infrastructure, and whatever you are doing there in Lucknow and other places. Now, before I put my further input into that, I'm inviting Dr. Abdul Jabbar sahab to have some kind of impression and sort of concluding remarks. Sorry that some of the part was in Hindi or Urdu that probably you couldn't follow, but I'm sure that you got the impression. Please unmute yourself. Yeah.
So I first of all, I'd like to thank you for giving this opportunity. It's a remarkable series of forum discussions I have been part of the last year and a half. So I was inspired when looking at, I knew something about Dr. Nazeer Ahmad Sahab, his life story a little bit, but I was inspired today how far, how bottom he just came from and just excelled in his educational achievements. So that is an inspiring story. Even though I didn't understand the program, I could really sense how much commitment he has put into this educating the students, the impoverished in the community. So that was a remarkable achievement in the respect. So my story, I want to kind of tell you a little bit of my story, not very long. I think I restrict myself maybe 6 to 8 minutes. Before that, I'd like to post a couple of articles.
Any problem?
Yes, I'm just sending it, right. So one, first, second one, I'm sending it. This is the one. Third one, this one. Okay, I think all three are in the boxes, in the chat box. So people can look at it easily. So this one, I think the first articles about K. Kamaraj. He was the visionary leader in Tamil Nadu. Without his vision, I don't think I would have gone out of Panekalam. This is the southmost outpost in Rameshwaram, on the Rameshwaram coast. So he gave that kind of vision for students like me to come out of another village. So in addition to that, so he was, because of that, he was one of my heroes. In addition to that, the other influence came from the family, mother and grandmother. With the limited resources, they were able to send me to college. In spite of some of my more relatives, were just kind of looking down upon them. What she's going to achieve, sending the children, her children to college without any means, financial means. So there's a it's kind of, that is my kind of story here. If you look at the second article, this is the articles, two articles. I just got it from the Nature Special, the Science of Inequality, the recent Nature. So in that, there's two facts, astonishingly depressing numbers. It says 8 men own now the one wealth equal to the 3.6 billion poorest people in the world. Remarkable. This is the disparity we are talking about. The other disparity is that 650 million people, close to 10% of the world population, is living with less than $2 a day. This is the context. If you look at the global context, then if you look at the narrow, the local context, so how in this kind of situation, how we are going to really excel in come out of the poverty. You have given the two examples, Dr. Nazeer Ahmad Saab, and also some efforts, how it really, you can bring about the remarkable achievement among people, because everybody has inherent ability to excel. They need some help along the way. I did get help along the way. So I think it's that is what I really endorse. When this proposal came from Dr. Nazeer Saab, I immediately jumped on it. This is, even though it's a drop in the bucket, like Dr. Nazeer Saab said, Nazeer Saab said, it's a drops make oceans. So in that respect, I think it's important for every one of us to lift people out of their, we are all, I think I consider myself fortunate, because not because of I had my family had resources, not because I had some ability to excel, and then I got help along the way, teachers, parents. So I think that's what this whole concept of excellence, of creating the center of excellence would bring about. I think it's, even if you make a difference in a small group of people, that is what doing that. I think that is my conclusion of what I see this project is moving forward. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let me just give an impression to audience why we had this event. And as I introduce in 2 slides, the idea is that we should do something in the North northeast central belt of India primarily for poor Muslim, bright and poor Muslims, and also for marginalized section of the society. Unlike South India, North India is totally lacking in any kind of this sort of project where a total free coaching and guidance information center exists, and which can be very, very helpful to all these poor and bright students. So my proposal at Aligarh forum was that let's have a model created with partnership at some place. So obviously you look for partnership to a place which already exists and which has some kind of success story. So I actually talked to Vice Chancellor or Pro Chancellor of Integral University a couple of times, and also to Shamshad Sir, who was highly recommended by my dear friend, Dr. Sandeep Pandey, to talk to Shamshad Sir and see whether you can get some help. So idea is that if we put a model project for a couple of years with a defined number of students, like 40 students, in 3 disciplines, engineering, IIT, medical, and management, and later on in the civil services. And would it be like if we say this is our project, would Shamshad Sahab will be willing to help us out? Because he has 2 sections in his setup. One is he runs a huge enterprise, but at the same time, he has his own NGO also, through which he also helps other students. And obviously nothing is free of cost. So we would be willing to share the part of the finances, which will come as a subsidized, with understanding some subsidized per head. So that's how we are going to initiate it, like take 40 students. As per his explanation, that to do a quality professional coaching for such a student, he would be needing actually very precisely 30 lakh rupees. That means 20 lakhs for teachers. I mean, we have to share with him because he already pays to others. But if we incorporate our 40 students, this is how he is going to reduce to 30 lakhs for 40 students maybe. But actually the bulk will be around 150 students, from where 30 or 40 will be put in a very competitive manner. So it comes to this, that for heavy advertisement, for contact, for teaching, and for using the facility, this will be the investment as a model. So this model, if it is successful, it will be expanded. And if it is less successful, we have to revisit and think what is lacking. So unless we initiate a process, unless we test its validity, we cannot just keep on talking and saying that, well, this will happen or that will happen, but we have not put into practice what we are going to do. So if we initiate this, obviously for such kind of thing, we always have to come to community, ask for your help, or whether our project sinks into your heart or mind, then you participate and help us out. And that's how Nazeer Saab feels, Jabbar Saab feels, and 7 to 8 other people at Aligarh Forum has extended their help. And so we are probably going ahead with this project with the anticipation that some of you would come up and help us out. As I said, finance sector is 30 lakhs from our side. We have to raise this and provide in installment or whatever way to Shamshad Sahab. Manzoor Ghauri Sahab has agreed to use his non-profit organization, IMRC. If anybody wants to donate, it will be in the name of IMRC or any other organization. If willing to become a partner, is most welcome. As individual, you are all part of it if you are willing to become. But it is needed. There is no doubt about it. If we don't do, somebody else at some point will do. And people are trying to, they're scattered and they're frustrated, but some are focused, some are trying to. We are one of them. Among many others who want to do something. And we think that it is a time when we put in a place like Lucknow, this kind of experiment. And if with 40 students from this marginalized section of our community, if we can help them out to become engineer and doctor or management or whatever, then we are contributing something into the society. And that doesn't mean that we have left out what is those students we are in high school or below high school. Already our association, like here Aligarh Alumni Association, is doing a wonderful job in providing at high school or below high school level. Somebody else is doing in some other vocational thing. So this doesn't mean that it is at the expense of any other thing. So this is one thing that we have been thinking, and now it is time to put it in practice with the help of partners and with your help. This is how it is. And with this, I now give it to Rafat for further question and answer. People can ask anything to me, to Nazeer Sahab, or to Shamshad Sahab.
Thank you, Razi.
And before that, just an announcement for this. Coming week will be a very popular and famous activist from Bombay, Gujarat belt, Father Sadiq Prakash. He is a very well-known civil rights activist, especially in Maharashtra and Gujarat region or throughout India, bulldozing democracy in India today. So let's move to question and answer session.
Thank you. So thank you for very nice presentation and a video clip. So the question and answer session is open now. So you can raise your digital hand or put your question in the chat box. So right now I have two questions, actually three questions, but the one from iPhone and Fazal Khan is the same question, and it will be addressed in one stretch. How many were successful in competing out for PMT out of 10,000 students? And the similar question is, what is the success rate of your training program? From Fazal Khan. So this question is for Shamshad Sahab. Please go ahead.
Shamshad Sahab, इसीलिए slide दिखाना बहुत जरूरी, slide दिखाना बहुत जरूरी था.
20% रिजल्ट हमारे रहते हैं. 20%, more than 20% result. Successful result is more than 20%.
Okay, thank you. Any additional question from both of you, or it's clear now? Okay, the next one is Rukunuddin. So probably this question is for Razi Bhai, or anyone can answer. What is the expected of audience now? Although you elaborated that, but you wanted to add something?
So, Dr. Rukunuddin, you are quite aware of this project, and now we have further elaborated. what is expected is that you become part of it and contribute to it, raise some money, or take it to any other level. As I remember, we put you also in the task force, in the initial task force, and you are a doer, so do as much as possible in whatever possible manners, okay? But expectation is like, help us out to raise money, and whether the concept of the project can be further improved, okay?
Thank you. Let me see. So Ruknuddin Saab is asking in chat box, please send the estimate and the account number to which money should be spent. So Razi bhai will take care of that. And Fazal Khan Saab, please go ahead and ask another question from Shamshad Saab. And after that, Tariq Farooqi. Fazal bhai, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Rafat, for allowing me to ask another question. This question is to Shamshad Sahab. The 20% success rate is fairly reasonable, but can you dissect it further, that what was the success rate in engineering and medical and some other professional courses, if possible, please?
Success rate in engineering is more than 40%, because of in UP state, number of aspirant is less and number of seat is larger. So you can say number of in engineering success rate is too much, but I am telling you government seat. In private seat is more 100%, because number of candidate is lesser and number of seat is more in private college. So total number, total 97,000 students appear in UPTU, state engineering interested, and seat is more than 97,000, including private and government college. But I'm telling you 20% is government seat.
So those who get selected to engineering and medicine, the fee is very hectic, especially for medicine. For engineering, I think it's 1 to 2 lakh.
No, in private college fees much high. So in minority community, who belong to minority community and take care coaching, is not able to join private medical college. Medical college fees is much higher, 1 CR.
So because these are poor students, how do they afford further once they compete and they get admitted? I know for the fact that lots of students drop out from the private medical colleges because of the hectic fee. So how do they afford it?
Private medical college and engineering college beyond the limit of minority poor student. Only economically sounded people is join private college.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Further elaborate, what I can say is that what he was elaborating to me when discussing is that the push is always to go into government colleges because there is very little expenditure, right? Government colleges, whether medical or engineering, the fee charges and other charges are very low. So that's why, and the ranking, always all India competition, the ranking to government colleges is always very high. And only those who don't find into that rank, they go to private colleges or they drop out, depending on their resources. So the push is towards government college. So he is saying that 20% rate he considered as real is for government colleges. Rest all will find their places according to the ranking or they will drop out. So that is how the standard is measured there.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Tariq Farooqi Saab. How long has your program been running in Lucknow? And it's a similar question. How many students have succeeded in getting admitted to the professional schools?
Let me modify the second part because that has been responded to a little bit. How many students total in absolute numbers have been succeeded in getting admitted to the government colleges? I understand what Razi was explaining about government colleges versus private school. And actually, it's much more difficult to get into government college because of the fees. They are much subsidized. And only those who cannot get into them go to private schools, especially if their parents are rich and they can afford to go into those. So really, these private schools cater to the rich people. Anyway, back to the question, Shamshad Sahab, please.
Shamshad Sahab, kuch confused ho
How
gaye?
many years have you been running this in Lucknow in particular? And in absolute numbers, how many students have gone to government colleges from your school?
More than 2,000 students are admitted in government college. Different government colleges in medical, BUMS, BHMS, MBBS, BDS, in different courses. More than 2,000 students join in government college.
And how many years have you been operating in Lucknow?
From since 1996, I'm running this institute.
And you have a center in Hazratganj itself?
Yeah, in Hazratganj in from 2004.
Okay. All right. I was interested because I'm from Lucknow originally and I've got some relatives over there. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So next one is Muhammad Nai Siddiqui. Please go ahead.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, and excellent presentation, Nazeer Sahab and Shamshad Sahab. Shamshad Sahab, I just query. I saw the buses heading towards the Bareilly, Raebareli or Bareilly and others. So your center is only located in Lucknow, or you also have the branches or coaching us are also, conducted in other places also, maybe online or something like that. Do you have those facilities also?
I have 5 branch, including Lucknow, Bareilly, Gorakhpur, Banaras, Bhadoi. Yeah, 5 branches.
Okay, if somebody want to, need your cooperation to open another branch, let's say on the other side of the UP,
Sure.
towards the south side or the Jhansi, Banda, that side.
Welcome.
What are the requirements? What are the requirements?
Its requirement is a classroom and a faculty. Major problem is faculty. Everywhere faculty is not available for professional courses. So in rural side, all students coming in Lucknow, Allahabad, Kanpur, and Bareilly.
Sorry, I don't want to ask question. Just to get more clarification. Is it not possible that everybody cannot come to the Lucknow, and nowadays we are using the online or the streaming? So these facilities which you are providing here are the coaching going on? Can we do this, remotely? Is it possible?
Yeah, it is possible. My class is physically and online, both simultaneously run. If anybody join my class online, then he can join, because my class is physically and online simultaneously.
Okay, thank you. We'll get back to you more, inshallah. Thank you. Thank you, Razi. Thank you, Rafat bhai.
Okay, let me read a question or Fazal Saab. Seats in private medical college go empty because of the fees and government colleges. Okay, so there is no question there. So anyway, I don't see any hand raised.
I can raise one question. And Nazeer Sahab wants to raise something. Shamshad Sahab, if we go with you, how much, tell us, if you have already government schemes running with so many students, so how our adding 40 student will be a different thing. अगर आपके पास already आप कह रहे हैं कि 500 people, students from marginalized section are there. Are they really good? You pre-screen them, they get successful and all, or do you have a separate cream section from where you will put our 40, 50 and becomes a very assured thing that they will be succeeded? कुछ तो बताएं आप. I mean,
Thank you,
देखिए,
Rajiv. Thank you. I had a similar concern that I was.
राजीव साहब, हेलो.
Yes.
Yeah,
हेलो.
go ahead.
मैं आपको एक चीज मैं बताना भूल गया था. इस बार जो 2022 और 23 के लिए जो माइनॉरिटीज की स्कीम है, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी अपने स्कीम का रिवीजन कर रही है. इसलिए इस साल स्कीम इस साल शायद नहीं आएगी. तो इस साल एक तरह से मेरे पास बफर पीरियड है, तो एक्सक्लूसिव मैं आपके काम को कर सकता हूँ. इसलिए मैंने थोड़ा इंटरेस्ट बीच में लिया और इनकी रिवीजन होते होते ये साल ये निकल जाएगा, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट का ये काम है. तो इसलिए जो आपके ये बच्चे होंगे, मैंने अपने प्राइवेट स्टूडेंट से अलग इन पे अलग से फोकस किया जाएगा. एक्सक्लूसिव इन्हीं को हम फोकस करेंगे जो आपके तरफ से मिलेंगे. इस साल माइनॉरिटी का बैच तो मैं अपनी तरफ से जो कर सकता हूँ तो वो करूंगा, प्लस आप जो करेंगे वो करूंगा. मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी से इस साल का फंड नहीं आने की उम्मीद है. आने की उम्मीद क्या, वो ये सेशन निकल जाएगा, क्योंकि अभी उनकी स्कीम कैबिनेट में है, उस पर रिवीजन हो रहा है, उसमें बहुत से लंबे प्रोसेस है. तो ये मान के चलें कि ये एक्सक्लूसिव जो है हम आपके लिए अपने प्राइवेट बच्चे और जो हम अपनी तरफ से बच्चों माइनॉरिटी बच्चों की मदद करते हैं वो करेंगे. प्लस आप अगर इसको कुछ बच्चों को एलोकेट करेंगे, स्पॉन्सर करना चाहते हैं, तो उन बच्चों को हम एक्सक्लूसिव जो है उनको ग्रोन अप जो भी उनको जितना भी उसको वो कर सकें उनका अपलिफ्टमेंट करेंगे इंशाल्लाह.
So your infrastructure is now intact, but your main concern is how to finance this for teachers and for public.
Yeah.
So can you spell on your own before this audience ki if we have 40 students, how much it will be subsidized from your side, what it will really take as per my understanding? I had the impression, and can you say this thing?
40 स्टूडेंट्स के लिए जैसे पहले भी डिस्कस हुआ कि मैं 40 स्टूडेंट्स को तो नहीं लिए जा सकते हैं. मैं मोबिलाइज करूंगा ज्यादा से ज्यादा बच्चों को कि कम से कम 1000 बच्चे मोबिलाइज हों. उन 1000 बच्चों से 100 बच्चों को मैं सेलेक्ट करूंगा. 100 में हम उनकी ग्रूमिंग 30 टारगेट लेके चलेंगे. 30% बच्चे तो 100 में से सेलेक्ट हो जाए, तो 100 को कोच करेंगे, 30 बच्चे सेलेक्ट होंगे. क्योंकि ऐसे 30 बच्चे या 40 बच्चे लेके उससे रिजल्ट नहीं मिलेगा जब तक कि हम मोबिलाइज करके ज्यादा से ज्यादा बच्चों को ना ला सके. एक अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस मैं आपको बताऊं. मैं जब इश्तहार ये मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी का इश्तहार फुल पेज पे निकलता है, फ्रंट पेज पे फुल पेज निकलता है, बावजूद उसके हमारे वहाँ ज्यादा से ज्यादा 2 से 3 हजार बच्चों के एप्लीकेशंस आते हैं. उसमें से भी 1000 एप्लीकेशंस जो वर्थलेस होते हैं, जो एलिजिबिलिटी नहीं रखते, वो भी अप्लाई किए होते हैं, ऑनलाइन भी या ऑफलाइन. तो सबसे बड़ा टास्क होता है जो अच्छे बच्चे होते हैं वो फ्री की तरफ अट्रैक्ट नहीं होते हैं. उसमें बहुत भरोसा होना चाहिए कि ये फ्री में दी जा रही है कोई चीज तो अच्छी है. मेरे साथ कम से कम ये है कि मैं इतने दिनों से इस काम को कर रहा हूँ कि ये हमारा नाम आते ही लोगों में ये यकीन बन जाता है कि हाँ यहाँ पे एजुकेशन अच्छी मिलेगी. तो पहले कम से कम हम 100 बच्चों को मोबिलाइज करेंगे. फंड हम आपसे उतना ही लेंगे जितना मैंने आपसे 30 लाख की बात की. हम 100 बच्चों की स्क्रीनिंग करके लेंगे और उन 100 में से हम 30 को तराश के अलग करके उनके अलग बैच बनाएंगे. उसमें एडिशनल किसी और बाकी जो 70 बचेंगे मैं अपने दूसरे बैच में उनको मर्ज करके वो जिस लायक जो जैसा होगा उनको भी पूरी 9 मंथ की उनको भी कोचिंग देंगे.
Thank you, Shamshad Sahab. The next question is, how long is the training and how much is spent per student? That's a good question.
9 to 10 month training duration, and मैंने 30 लाख कहा, 30 लाख फैकल्टी
So,
एंड
okay. So, Jabbar Saab.
एक सेकेंड आपने 30 लाख तो सुना था, लेकिन नंबर ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स में हो सकता है आपने कहा मैंने सुना नहीं हो, लेकिन पर स्टूडेंट कितना आता है वो?
पर स्टूडेंट वो 30,000 पड़ेगा.
I calculated based on Razi Bhai's numbers. So if there are 40 students, he was talking about 40 students. So 30 lakhs translate to $40,000. So $1,000 per student if we begin with 40 students. But he's saying that we will begin with 100 students, and then it will be almost like 2.5 times less. So you can say around $600-700 per person.
Arey, his logic is that if we take 100 students, this is a reasonable number, then the focus will be within that 100. The 30 will be certainly groomed good enough to get succeeded. If we take only 30 or 40, then your number will be really very much reduced. So with the same amount of money, you can use this 100 students to get a reasonable success.
ये हमारा पैसा कर रहे हैं.
So Tariq Bhai, to be precise, it will be $400 per student for 100 students. Okay, Jabbar Saab.
So, okay, thank you. I think you may have addressed this question. What is the selection process for admitting students into your college?
Through
So
interest.
what are the criteria you use to admit students in your college? As financial needs and other factors?
Through entrance test and interview. Selection for student through entrance test.
Entrance test. There is an entrance.
And there is an entrance test there. I see.
Yes.
Okay.
And some interview, little interview.
Interviews. Okay. Okay.
Pre-screening is there.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, this is among this the marginalized population of the students, right? The community.
Yes.
So that means a financial element comes in first in terms of taking the test on the students and then interviews. So that's what I'm just trying to see. What is the flow of your admission to the training process? Maybe there is, I think you already sent your presentation slide. I captured that from the chat box. I will go through that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I don't see any more question. And Shamshad Saab, can I ask a different question? ये ज्यादातर कहा जाता है कि माइनॉरिटीज की स्कॉलरशिप जो गवर्नमेंट अनाउंस करती है, they are always underutilized. What do you think of that?
ये बिल्कुल सही फरमा रहे हैं. माइनॉरिटीज की बहुत सी स्कीमें इसमें इतनी पेचीदगी होती है कि कुछ बच्चे कुछ अपने अवेयरनेस की वजह से, कुछ किसी वजह से उसमें पूरी तरह से उस स्कीम का यूज नहीं हो पाता.
And how much they give?
More than 50% स्कॉलरशिप जो है वो बैक हो जाती है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया को, क्योंकि उसमें इसके स्कूलों को तमाम डिटेल्स भेजनी होती हैं. स्कूल ये पेन नहीं लेते, वो सोचते हैं हम इनके लिए क्यों इतना करने जाए. जो माइनॉरिटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन या इंस्टीट्यूशन है वो तो बहुत हद तक बच्चों की डिटेल्स जो है उनको प्रोवाइड करा देते हैं, जिससे उनको स्कॉलरशिप मिल जाती है. लेकिन जो नॉन माइनॉरिटी इंस्टीट्यूशन है वो इतना पेन नहीं लेते हैं, और वो क्योंकि वहां पर भी माइनॉरिटीज बच्चे पढ़ते हैं, इसलिए वो स्कॉलरशिप उनकी जो है वो बैक हो जाती है.
So how much is the amount? Is depending on the grade or school? I mean, for class, must be based on the
class. ये मैट्रिक्स से लेके फ्रॉम क्लास 6 टू PhD तक स्कॉलरशिप का प्रोविजन है. मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी की वेबसाइट पे ये डिटेल फंड और सारी चीजें दी हुई है. मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी अफेयर्स.
Thank you.
Welcome.
If minority, the next question.
May I make a comment?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead first, okay? Then I will ask Fazal Saab.
Please go ahead. Let's take the questions. Then I'll
Okay.
make a comment. Please go
If
ahead.
minority financial help doesn't come through, as you said, what happens to those minority students? Well, they don't get it. Right?
शमशाद साहब, अगर माइनॉरिटी स्टूडेंट को फाइनेंशियल हेल्प नहीं आ रही तो क्या होता है उनका?
Drop out or
Hello.
शमशाद
Hello.
साहब, क्वेश्चन
Hello.
ये है कि अगर माइनॉरिटी स्टूडेंट को स्कॉलरशिप नहीं मिलती, then what happens to those students? They drop out or?
वो ड्रॉप आउट कर लेते हैं। उसके बाद से बहुत से ऐसे बच्चे होते हैं जो हम लोग की वहाँ भी स्कीम आती है, उसमें बच्चों को स्टाइपेंड का जो प्रोविजन होता है, तो ये होता है कि उनको मंथली जो स्टाइपेंड मिलेगा उससे उनके रहने खाने का हो जाएगा। अगर वो स्टाइपेंड मिलने में डिले होती है तो वो बच्चे ड्रॉप आउट करके घर चले जाते हैं। वो पूरा अपना कोर्स तो हम लोग पूरा करा लेते हैं। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल हमारे जो है 3 इयर्स की हमारे फंड जो है पेंडिंग है मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी, 3 इयर्स के फंड। तो अब मैंने कोचिंग तो पूरी करा, लेकिन बच्चे जो है जिनको स्टाइपेंड नहीं मिल रहा है, वो बच्चे अब तो अपना उनके खाने और रहने का तो हो ही नहीं पाता है, तो वो बीच में ड्रॉप आउट करके ही चले जाते हैं।
Okay, thank you. Nazeer Saab, I will come back to you. Let's finish the question first. Iltafat Hassan, please.
जी, अगर मैंने सही सुना तो रफत तुम कैलकुलेट कर रहे थे कि $400 पर स्टूडेंट पर ईयर है।
Yes.
ठीक, ओके। तो रजी आप उसका करेंगे अरेंज के कुछ मंथली हम कंट्रीब्यूट करें जो चाहते हैं कंट्रीब्यूट करना, या वन लम सम?
Yeah, that's okay. Whatever way people feel easy, we can adjust with that.
ठीक है, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me see.
From where this continuous sound is coming?
Yeah, somebody's mic is probably
Okay. Okay. So Nazeer,
So,
please.
Nazeer Saab, please go ahead.
Gee, the thing is, we must look at education as a system and ask ourselves, how does a child from the time he is 5 years old make his or her progression until he goes on to graduate school and becomes a successful doctor, engineer, IIM graduate, or an IAS officer? Here's what happens. Number one, the system is broken. And unfortunately, it has happened since the time of independence by deliberate government policy. One of the worst things that the government of India did, and the governments of the various different provinces did, was to privatize education. What happened with that was that public education was neglected. And the same MLAs and MPs who start these private schools and benefit from it are the ones who are opposed to the betterment of public education. Public education costs very little money. Private education costs a lot of money. Even a child who's in the first grade, the second grade, you need 50,000 rupees, 60,000 rupees to send him to a private college because they perceive that the public education is broken. And within that paradigm, the public education systems in our mohallas, our areas, is even more broken. So that what happens is that between the primary school and the secondary school, there's a dropout rate of about 50%. Then from the secondary school to the high school, there's a dropout rate of another 50%. And between high school and college, there is a dropout rate of another 50%. So that by the time you go to admission of the students, approximately 5 or 6 out of 7 children, especially from our community, have dropped out. That's number one. Number two, there were a lot of questions from the audience about the public support. See, on paper, there's a lot of government support, and I speak as an ex-MLA here, is unfortunately not used by our community. They still want to send their children to private schools. Speaking of the minorities, the Ministry of Minority Affairs. I work very closely with them on that. There are many schemes. There were many schemes available. We all know the political situation at the current time. One of the schemes was for a residential student. The Ministry of Minority Affairs identified certain institutions all over India, and they gave them 1 crore rupees per student for the entire period. I know, for instance, that our institutions, Karnataka, benefited from it. What I'm trying to communicate is that let's not focus too much on money. Money is a very small portion of it. What is $400? Nothing. The important thing is to identify correctly those students who have the capacity and the capability to compete with the best in the world, and then feel some pain on our part to support them so that 1 student or 2 students or 10 students. Now, I commend Shamshad Sahib. He has taken that initiative. It's not easy to run an institution in India. There are all kinds of difficulties that we face. So let's support him, whatever we can do, and also give some guidance and help to Razi Sahab so that we can get started with this with a small number of students, maybe about 40 or so. And I myself, I'm committed to the thing, and keeping in mind the overall paradigm, which is really very unfortunate and against the poor people. And when I say poverty, one last thing, when I say poverty, very few people know what poverty is. I haven't seen the face of shaitan or devil, but if the devil had a face, it's the face of poverty. Poverty is when you don't have a meal on your table. How are you going to give 5 rupees to a child to send him to school? That is poverty. Very few of us here in America, and in my conversations with my colleagues over the last 50, 60 years, they come from reasonably well-to-do families. That is poverty. So $400, $300, $200, legitimate questions. When we speak of poverty, we are talking about destitution, my friends, with nothing.
Thank you. So,
yeah, I think that is very powerful. I think I agree with you 100%. I think we moved out. I moved out of poverty because of education from Panikalam. I think I said, a lot of people think maybe I went to a convent school or some of the elite institutions. I did not. I did go to I did go to public school, and also went to the public university. So I think there are you talked about paradigm, kind of created by the post-independent system, but I think there are spots. We are here talking about education because I personally, all my education was done in India. I just came here for high advanced studies. You have a different experience. You went back to India, served as a legislator. You have a very more insights into the problems India faces now. But I go to Panikalam once a year now because of the COVID. I haven't gone there for 3 years. I go to my school, high school. I go to and then give them small talks and also create some sort of small fellowship for successful students. I try to do my best in my own way. If we could do that, I think it's like you're talking about drop in the small drop in the ocean. Drops make oceans. I think that's what we had to do. I think that is what my experience tells me, informs me. My lived experience informs me. Every one of us, every one of this child, every child has inherent ability to move ahead in life. That child needs some context, some positive context, some way of lifting itself. In my case, the village gave me the concept. My family gave the concept. Small village. There's a focus. So now in this world of you talked about the light year, the information travels at the speed of the light. So people are also distracted by a lot of stuff. So I think how do you really construct some sort of society, is kind of community of thinking, saying that this is the path you have to take, so it can be done. It can be done. I am very positive about it.
Thank you. I'm gonna to put some people on the spot now. And my first target is Mozam Saab. Any comment, Mozam Bhai?
So actually, I have a question, not exactly related to what you're talking about, but in Lucknow, I believe it was around the year 2000. There is used to be a Jahangirabad palace or some kind of thing, and Dr. Raziuddin knows about it. Manzoor Ghori.
Yes, I can elaborate on that if you have the question on that. Manzoor Saab didn't come today, but he along with some others established that as an institute on many disciplines, to higher study discipline, but they didn't focus on this kind of competitive centers, or this is a regular sort of institution of higher learning or specialized learning. So all the institutions, other universities, regular like Lucknow University, Banaras University, Aligarh Muslim University, they all have coaching centers, their own. But for that, a student has to go and get enrolled into that as a student. So that's a very different concept. Even Jahangirabad Palace, Jahangirabad Institute is also an institution of higher learning. This is a focused project on coaching bright students who are marginalized in society due to their social or financial condition. We are not touching upon any of those 25% of Muslims or other sections who are resourceful, because they can find their own way. This is where the bulk of our population is, which is many among them are very bright, but they are directionless, they are without resources. And government, of course, we don't have any reservation set up in the community, for the community. So how they will be helped? So it is a moral responsibility upon us if we take it or if we don't take it. So that's how it is actually. So it is a time for this introspection or reflection or action, that some of us, if not now, someday, maybe in future, is going to take a couple of people will rise up for the occasion. We are trying to initiate this process, that it is time to do it at every level. Actually, at every level it has to be done. Our local, that's what the whole concept was 10 years back, when our local association, Aligarh Alumni Association, we initiated a project called Feeder and Coaching. So that was also taking to the same point, that why we have so many dropouts in our community. So because of poverty. So we said that we cannot do a big project because we are an association, a small alumni association. So we'll take 20 or 25 or 30 students per district and see as a model that how can they be helped. And they have been, we have been helping them almost like 1,000 students from our local association. There are many associations who are doing similar thing. So we put the coaching also, the coaching for not this professional subjects, rather within the high school setup, that how they can be excelled. So a coaching to excel, to improve their studies. So that level also is going on, or should be gone for further. But this level is also needed, because we always, don't we cry that, oh, we are always 3%, 4%, but we never make efforts of how can we put them as 5% or 6%. This is it. I mean, you can put them as 5 or 6%. You have to invest. You have to invest.
Dr. Razili said, also all is not kind of all negative in the community, I think. One time, I think the richest man in Asia is a Muslim, right? Azim Premji. So he runs a company, Wipro. I think it's we have a bright spots. I think
nobody is denying the bright spot, but the general population.
I want to bring a perspective.
Of course.
Perspective to all is not bleak.
You all are success stories. If you see,
absolutely.
Everyone sitting here is a success story.
Yes. So whether we have the will to give something back to the community. That is the question here.
That is where you are now. Look, Rafa, Fazal Bhai, Mozam Saab, you, Nazeer Saab, all are success story because they are all coming from Muslim community and here in a successful position. So that is fine. It is on their shoulders. This onus is on us. Are we doing or we not doing? That's all.
Okay, so Fazal Saab, a question for Nazeer Saab, and after that I will put a spot on Sayyid Naqvi Saab.
Good. That is part is right there.
Okay, so my question is little away from education, so I want the audience to bear with that a little bit. Nazeer Saab, I believe you are US citizen, right?
Yes.
Nazeer Saab.
Everybody is. I'm a US citizen, OCI, OCI too.
No, I mean, let me ask the question first. So how did you manage to run the election in India? Did you come US afterwards?
That's a good question. 1961, I came to America. From 1961 till 1980, I was a citizen of India and allowed and registered to vote in the city of Tumkur. In 1980, I became a citizen of the United States. I applied for it. 1981, it was approved. Then I worked on top secret projects here in the United States. So in a sense, I have been very fortunate in that I have had access to the best of the best on both sides of the ocean. That's a good question. My election was in 1978, February.
You ran from here?
No.
While you were physically here, or you went there?
No. We sold everything we had. Our children were small. That's a good question. Allow me the privilege of sharing with you some personal things. I'm married to an American lady. We sold everything we had after staying here for 18 years with the intent of doing something for India. We started a business there, packed up everything, sold our home in Princeton, went back to India, and there I got the ticket to run. That was the year when the Congress party split. And with some fast footwork, I put my card in on the right side of the equation with Indira Gandhi. I worked with her, got the ticket to run. I was elected with an overwhelming vote of almost 80% in a district which is 80% non-Muslim, etc. So that's the story. And then about a year and a half later, I returned to the United States, having resigned my position as MLA in India because of the the situation. When you are an MLA, you have to add 1 + 1 and call it 11. I couldn't do that. That's the story. That's it.
Thank you. So the bottom line is that you are Indian citizen.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay, thank you. And Sayyid Naqvi Saab, I asked him to, and maybe he's not there. Sayyid. Okay, and there is another person I wanted to put on his spot.
Sayyid Naqvi Saab left. Dr. Naqvi.
But is he right?
Yes, he's here.
Okay, go ahead. And after that, I'm gonna to ask Professor Saadul Hassan because he is also running a school.
So
Go ahead, Sayyid sir.
Dr. Naqvi, we want to hear you. We want to listen from you.
What's your impression and what's your? Go ahead, Sayyid.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। आपका ये डेलिब्रेशन भारत बहुत उम्दा है और बहुत अच्छा है, मगर हकीर की थोड़ी आदत तजर्बात हुए हैं तो उसकी वजह से मैं बड़ा मुश्किल पा रहा हूँ कि आपकी जो बिल्कुल फोकस एक एरिया था जिसको आप लोगों ने एड्रेस किया, जनाब शमशाद साहब ने जो अपना कारहाय नुमाया अंजाम दिया है वो अपने यकीनन सराहनीय है और we congratulate for all these efforts which he is doing for the years together and सभी ने बहरहाल वो जो फोकस है, देखिए मगर मेरी जैसे एक दिन हमारे मोहतरम जनाब डॉक्टर रजी साहब से भी गुफ्तगू हुई थी तो मैंने थोड़ा सा अलग पर्सपेक्शन रखा था, क्योंकि बहरहाल अब आप सारे इंटेलेक्चुअल बैठे हुए थे, दिल तो मेरा भी चाह रहा था मैं बोलूं, मैं मगर शायद नहीं बोलता अनलेस आपने मुझे मजबूर कर दिया कि मैं बोलूं। तो देखिए ऐसा है कि कम्युनिटी के ऊपर आपने बहुत सारी बातें हो ही चुकी, मगर मेरा जो अपना तजर्बा बोल रहा है वो ये है कि डिस्पाइट के हमारे जो तलबा हैं वो बड़ी मेहनत कर रहे हैं जो भी हैं, और देखिए एक तो वो है जिसको आप लोग एड्रेस कर रहे हैं, बहुत अच्छी बात है। इसमें देखिए मुख्तलिफ खिदमात अंजाम हो रही हैं, कोई नीट के लिए भी कर रहा है, कोई सिविल सर्विस के लिए कर रहा है, कोई बिल्कुल पसमानदा जो दबे हुए लोग हैं उनके अंदर भी सिलेक्शन करके कर रहा है। मगर मैं एक बहुत ख़ास चीज़ देख रहा हूँ वो ये है कि एक बड़ा बल्क जो हमारा अवेलेबल है उसको ये नहीं पता कि लाइन ऑफ एक्शन हमारी क्या हो सकती है जो हम जल्दी से कामयाबी कहीं ना कहीं ले लें। वो बहुत चीज़ मिसिंग मुझे दिख रही है कि डिस्पाइट के हमारी जैसे अलीगढ़ यूनिवर्सिटी है, जामिया है और दीगर यूनिवर्सिटी हैं जो आपके सामने हैं, चाहे मौलाना उर्दू आज़ाद उर्दू यूनिवर्सिटी जो हैदराबाद की है वो भी है, ये सारे काफ़ी वो इंस्टीट्यूशन है जहाँ हज़ारों की तादाद में बच्चे पढ़ रहे हैं और वो पढ़ते हैं, मगर उसके बाद कितने मतलब देखिए अल्टीमेटली तो सबको जॉब में आना है ना, अगर कोई जॉब में नहीं आया तो फिर फायदा क्या हुआ। तो काफी बड़ा तादाद जो है वो ये है कि इग्नोरेंस की है, जिनको ये पता ही नहीं कि हमें हमारी लाइन ऑफ एक्शन होनी क्या है। तो वो जो कमी मैं महसूस कर रहा हूँ वो बहुत काफी मुझे तो शिद्दत से लग रही है और आज के फोरम में वो थी नहीं, तो लिहाजा मैं माजरत खा हूँ कि मैं उसमें बोलना नहीं चाह रहा था, क्योंकि बहरहाल एक फोकस एरिया था। आप लोगों ने बहुत उम्दा डेलिब्रेशन किया है और आई हाईली अप्रिशिएट, सारे ही अच्छे थे, मगर ये मैं समझता हूँ कि अगर आप लोग जब आपने मुझे मजबूर किया है कुछ बोलने के लिए, तो आपके सामने मेरा सबमिशन ये है कि इस तरफ भी जहन में रखिएगा, अगर कुछ हो सके तो इस पे जो अथॉरिटीज़ हैं, क्योंकि मेरा मानना ये है कि इसमें मेरी कोशिश है पूरी, अलीगढ़ के वीसी हैं या जामिया के हैं या जो भी हैं, इनको इस पे मैं मुतवज्जा करना चाह रहा हूँ दीगर यूनिवर्सिटीज़ को कि ये इस पे सीरियसली काम करें कि हमारे बच्चे जो हैं वो मैक्सिमम मतलब एग्जाम्स में बैठें तो सही, बैठते ही नहीं हैं, तो जब बैठते ही नहीं हैं तो वो बच्चे कामयाब कहाँ होंगे। वो तो या तो वो बच्चे हैं जो बहुत मेहनत करते हैं तो मेहनत करने के बाद उनके दिमाग में रहता है कि नहीं हम तो मसलन नीट क्वालिफाई कर रहे हैं। अब भाई अगर वो बच्चा आ सकता, मेरे सामने ऐसे भी बच्चे आए कि जो अगर वो बैठ जाते इधर मतलब मिनिस्ट्री के जो एग्जाम्स होते हैं, जिसमें मेरा कहना ये है, अभी मेरे सामने दो बच्चे रिसेंटली 2-3 बच्चे आ चुके हैं जो 12 पास थे, उसी बेसिस पे बैठे आज मिनिस्ट्री में जो है वो एक डायरेक्टर का मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर में बच्चा जो है वो पीए हुआ है। अब इन द लाइन ऑफ अनदर फ्यू ईयर वो तो बहुत आगे जब बढ़ेगा, और ऐसे ही बच्चे जो क्लरिकल एग्जाम में बैठते हैं।
We can, since because of it was a focused project we were talking about, so no doubt that what you are saying we should elaborate on other line and other things. We can come up with another event with a generalized situation of overall Muslims education and their employment. So that is a different thing. Since this was all geared and focused for a making a case for this objective, to whether we should pursue this and how to pursue this and all that. So it is a focused project. That doesn't mean that we are excluding anything else. So
एक्सक्लूडिंग नहीं है, मैं समझ रहा हूँ. I fully appreciate कि आप लोग फोकस थे, बहुत अच्छा सा था. और जैसे शमशाद साहब कर रहे हैं, इनकी सर्विसेज दी जा सकती हैं. आप लोगों ने बिल्कुल फोकस गुफ्तगू की है. और भारत में तो मैंने आपसे अर्ज कर ही चुका कि मैं तो इसमें आना नहीं चाह रहा था, क्योंकि मैं सुन रहा था, क्योंकि ये मेरे इंटरेस्ट का एरिया तो है. क्योंकि मैं भी ये समझता हूँ कि मुख्तलिफ जाविये से हमें खिदमत खल्क करनी चाहिए, बिलखुसूस अपनी उम्मत की हमें फिक्र होनी चाहिए. और जो हो रहा है, अगर कहीं पे इत्तफाकन मैं आखिर कोई कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकता हूँ तो मैं फी सबीलिल्लाह जरूर बढ़ूंगा. मेरी इसमें कोई वो नहीं है.
Thank you,
इसमें
Naqvi
जरूर
साहब.
बढ़ूंगा.
Thank you, Naqvi साहब. We got your
I
point.
just add just one sentence. This is also a pilot project. For any kind of major experiments you want to do, you also start with the small pilot projects.
Sure.
I think this is what we are talking about.
Very focused, and a pilot project to create a model, whether this model can be successfully really done, and it can be replicated elsewhere. That the whole project is this. You have to invest in a pilot project to see whether it can be done.
So that concludes the question and answer session, because I see the numbers are dwindling very fast. So that is concluded. Back to you, Rajiv.
ठीक है भाई. तो I mean, for this kind of objective to do an event, obviously it is a very focused event. It is geared towards discussing a very nitty-gritty thing. So we did it, and people have now they know what we wanted to pursue and what we want to pursue. And after this, we will write on Aligarh Forum and other places and to other people, some of those who are committed and they didn't come today, and some of them came, some didn't. And Shamshad Sahab, very much thank you कि आपने अपना infrastructure you showed, and you the documentary really said a lot about things. People at least now know that you have a setup which can be used, and you are a willing partner into our project, and we can just make it more more better understanding के साथ और आगे बढ़ सकते हैं. And we will see how we can and when we can do further. What is step 2? What is step 3? What is step 4? But there is no doubt that we are going to do it. Incrementally, how we are going to do it, soon we will crystallize it more. We will clarify it more, and it will be okay. अब आप लोग अपना बातचीत करना चाहे. Sorry, Dr. Jabbar, most of us are used to talking in Urdu. तो उर्दू जो है ना, that is a big problem in India ना, कि वो तमिल से कैसे बात हो लखनऊ वाले की. That
I survived a year and a half here.
Yeah. For us, it's okay because we can easily switch to different. We are now used to switching languages. Urdu and suddenly English. We talk to our kids also the same way. They understand 100%, but their response is always 100% back in English.
Yeah, the same
every single word they understand.
Same thing in my family.
Yeah.
We talk in Tamil, and then the reply comes back in English.
Yes, always. They all understand 100%. Not only even 90%. 100% they understand.
Yeah.
Rajiv Jabbar Sahab, जो है understand everything in Urdu now.
No.
He just pretends that you.
He comes from a very remote area.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know if I start talking about a life in Padikalam, I think I need a chapter to write. So
yeah, there's a big difference. Even my own, I mean, my very close friend, he came from Murshidabad. He came to Aligarh from Murshidabad. And I thought that Murshidabad, and we also have a really wrong concept. I mean, people, we means